Hi, in this lecture we are going to start coding the Photo Searcher app. And for your convenience, I took a screenshot of the final app that I built beforehand, and I want to show you the screenshot on the screen here so that you can orientate yourself, so that you know what we are about to build, what we are building. So it's good to have like a visual idea of what you are building. And it's good to have something like this. So this is the final app. As I told you, this is a screenshot. And on purpose, I wrote this note here, screenshot, so that while we are developing the app, so for example, later on we are going to execute the actual app. And I don't want you to be confused of which is the screenshot and which is the actual app. So that's why I wrote screenshot, to know that this is actually a picture of a screenshot of the actual app where you see the text input and the button. And this is my empty project that I created. And currently, as I told you, I have only this PNG screenshot in here, this one in here. Now let's go ahead and create our Python file. Let's call this main. And you see main.py is created as an empty file. I'm going to split this vertically here. This should be enough. Okay. And I'm going to make more space for the actual Python file. Now, what is a Kivy app made of? Well, it's made of 4 objects. We have the app object, we have the screen manager object, we have the screen object, and we have the widget object. Well, widget actually is a category of objects because here we're going to have many different types of objects, such as button, text input, image, drop-down list, or whatever widget your app may require. Now, for each of these 4 types of objects, we are going to have a class in our Python file. So let's go ahead and do that. So first I mentioned the app class. What that means is we create a class like that, call it main app. What makes this an app class? Well, Kivy is a library, so it has its own classes. And one of these classes is called the app class, which basically initializes the actual app. And this class can be imported from Kivy. I know you're still confused, but you'll get it in a second. So from Kivy.app import app. This is the first object that I was referring to. So the app object. You see, if I hold the mouse in here, you are going to see the documentation of this class. And if you right click and go to, and then go to declaration or usages, that's going to take you to this directory. So lib site packages kivy app.py. So this is the actual file in the Kivy library. So the developers of Kivy wrote this file, and this is the class app that creates app objects. You don't have to read this, I'm just showing it to you to give you an idea of what's going on with Kivy. So it has an init method that initializes the app, and it has this build method. Remember this because I'm going to talk about this in a minute. And so what we do with this app, I'm going to close it, we don't need it. What we do with that app class is we inherit from it in our main app. So our main app will be the child of the app class, of the Kivy app class. And then you saw that build class, we need to override that build class by writing our own build class with a self method. What this returns is another class which we need to create on top of this. So before creating the main app class, we need to create another class. Now, so I'm working with hierarchies here. The app is main object, then the app has a screen manager class. This class is usually named root widget by programmers. So I'm going to name it root widget as well, so that we can easily communicate with other programmers when you read some code from another programmer, or when someone else will read your code, they know what's going on. So the root widget is a screen manager object. So as you see, I talked about app, I talked about screen manager, which also we need to import from Kivy.uix.screen manager import screen manager, like that. And this is basically just some empty code. You just write pass here. You don't do anything with this class unless a need arises for some very specific scenarios. But generally, it's going to be an empty class. So again, this class inherits from the screen manager class. And what happens here is that the app class is going to return the root widget object instance. So what I did here is I initialized the class that I created in here. So again, we have the main app class, which is basically a child of app. And that main app class has this build method. So Kivy knows that Kivy expects this build method to be there. And this build method has to return the screen manager. So the main app is like the main app, and the screen manager is another object that will basically manage the multiple screens of your app, even when the app has only one screen, such as in this case, in our scenario here. Alright, then we move on top here. So we said we have the screen class. Now, how many screen classes are we going to have? Well, we're going to have as many screen classes as there are screens on our app. So for example, imagine an app which has a login screen first, where the user enters some data, and then they press the login button, and that login button will switch to another screen. So that means there will be two screens. And that means we'd have to write two screen classes. And we are going to do that for our webcam app later on, but for now we only have one screen class, so I'm going to create only one screen class. How do we call this? Whatever we like. How can we name the first screen here? You can just name it first screen, whatever you like, but it's important that the screen inherits from the screen class, which again you need to import it. Luckily this time the screen class happens to be a part of the screen manager file. So from that you import screen manager and screen. And then don't forget the colon. Now the first screen is going to have some methods depending on what you do with your app. For example, in our case, what we're going to do is let's say when the user presses search image, we are going to search for an image. So we basically need some sort of search image methods in here, right? Let me write pass for now, but we are going to implement the actual code here that searches for an image on the web, downloads that image here on our local folder, and then it returns the path of the image so that the app gets a path. So for now, let's leave it like that. This is like the backbone of the app, and I would like to run it. And if I just run it like this, so right click, run main, nothing is going to happen. Can you guess why? Can you look at the code and guess why? Well, I can tell you why. Because what we have here is we imported a bunch of classes, and then we wrote one class, two class, three classes. But did we call anything? Did we execute anything here? Did we initialize any of these classes? No. So nothing will happen. If you just define things and you don't call them, nothing happens. So what we do here is very simple. We just say main app. We initialize the main app, this one in here, and we call the run method. So parenthesis here, parenthesis there. Then you execute the get app, and this is what you get. And this is the expected output with what we have this far. So all we have here is actually the app, but we don't have any screens yet, because we have to do something else. And that something else I'm going to explain in the next videos. So see you there.